Alrighty, The Last of Us Season 2 has begun. I think we're both pretty in agreement that the second game has a bunch of flaws, but that those flaws might actually make it really well suited to an adaptation. So, let's find out how much Craig Mazin can beat Neil Druckmann up to stop him getting too drucky.
Well, that's it, right? I suppose it's so hard to talk about Last of Us, this part 2, basically, because it is it's like the last Jedi of modern video games.
It pretty much changed the way we talk about video games.
It's kind of hard to talk about this without at least revealing what our opinions are of the game slightly, because there's going to be a lot of people like with pitchforks, and it's which group with pitchforks are going to start stabbing us. So I think part 1 is an incredible game. I played it back when it came out, the weekend it came out. I played it. Loved it. I think it's the defining game of that generation. It's the best linear storytelling game ever. I think it's the best example of that form in video games. I think it's a simple story told incredibly well. It was an anti-player choice game where a few months before it came out, you had the other Troy Baker with a girl game, BioShock Infinite, which had a lot of flippant, frivolous choices. With this, I remember a lot of people at the time, when you've come in and you find Ellie, and you were telling me you expected this save her, save the world choice.
For the ending,
but
yes.
Instead, the whole game has been about Joel, not the player. So we get Joel's choice.
Yes.
It's not the player's choice. And while we can get all bogged down in would the Fireflies have used it for political gain, and would it have actually had worked? Well, that's fun. The point is, Joel chose to save his daughter. He couldn't save Sarah, so then he's kind of... it's not so much that Joel is evil or dark, it's that Joel did what was right for him.
Yeah, I think that translates through to the show as well. And it kind of works in a completely different way, because the game is you have that choice taken away from you. Whereas with this, we get to see a lot more of the perspectives of everyone. So, because this isn't just Joel's story. And that's what this season 2, I think, really taps into.
Straight away.
Yeah, and I think it's doing it quite well. This is about the way we use violence. Because of what Joel did, we don't have to view it as like, oh, we did it, because we didn't directly do it. So you can actually kind of treat him not as a bad guy, but he's definitely broken because of the choice. And he doesn't disagree with what he did. He stands by it. He saved Ellie. But now it's going through the whole... it's tearing his relationship with Ellie apart, because he's been lying to her, basically, for 5 years. Because this episode starts 5 years in the future. And I think they've immediately addressed a lot of our problems, which is we don't get bogged down with Abby, and we don't waste so much time... or they don't bury the lead on her.
That is an interesting thing that one of the groups, the people who love part 2, which is absolutely fine to love part 2. I don't think you're wrong or stupid for liking part 2. But they do something that's different, and that is that it's very obvious to someone who's maybe paying attention that with this, that Abby probably has a legitimate grievance to want to hunt for Joel. Whereas in the game, that's kind of, it's buried away for 10, 15 hours. Like, you as the player can guess what may be occurred, but ultimately you don't know. But in this, we know that Abby is probably someone who's suffered at the hands of Joel. Well,
it's an extremely simple motivation that the game makes very murky and weird.
Full spoilers
for both the game and the show.
Yeah.
In this case, Joel killed the person she loves. So Abby she's chasing revenge. That's literally her motivation. She's very angry at Joel for killing, and she wants to go kill him. And she's got a little band of merry men, and we get to see them at the very beginning, a very poignant scene. I don't remember the actress's name.
Oh, fuck. A wonderful actress.
Yes, the actress is really good. She's very vengeful. I think we're both glad that she's not swole.
Okay.
It just makes it more like an underdog story, which is something that makes it always better. It's like, because what she's trying to do isn't good for us because we like Joel. She's coming to kill someone we like. So making her a big hulking mass won't make us like her. Whereas if she's like scrappy, then we're like, cool.
And maybe a bit more, would you say, the parallels to Ellie are a bit clearer then?
Yeah, and it makes it a bit more fair game, like, because if you know what's going to happen. So it's like, it just helps us.
And I'm sure there's some people out there, because God, the r/Last of Us Part 2 Reddit, which is the cesspool where all these people are who just hate Part 2 and hate anyone who was involved or liked Part 2. And I have seen some essays about why Swole Abbey is stupid, unrealistic, couldn't happen, it wouldn't be feasible in the zombie apocalypse because you'd want stamina and not strength, all these things. I think also there's just the physical realities that the actress didn't want to get buff, nor could get as buff. Like, I mean, without being... This is me being horrible. Abby's the size of fucking Kratos in that game. Yeah. It is at sometimes comical just how thick her arms are, and she's 19. But, you know, genetic freaks exist. Brock Lesnar's daughter.
She could have been just born that way. This episode doesn't really do what I thought it would do, as in there's a lot of game, so I thought we might be trying to just skip some stuff, whereas this is very focused on being a status quo reset. And then setting up everyone's relationships.
Because we're aware that there might be someone who's just watched episode 9 and then is like, continue on to the next.
Age of streaming,
you kind of continuing of the... Which I felt it did quite well.
Like I think because it's simple enough, you do the little setup, hey, he's lying to her, here they are, she's mad at him, you're like...
Yeah.
You don't know what happened, but you can kind of assume. Also, she's 19. They met when she was 14.
14 yeah.
And then... Joel's an old man, so yeah, you can kind of tell what happened in their relationship. You get it. Also, I think Joel's story will really resonate with dads having teenage daughters, because Ellie is a much more realistic representation of a 19-year-old in this. It's more realistic, and Bella is older than 19, so it's
but she still can easily look 19.
Yeah, she's still definitely
baby-faced. She's only just older than 19. I think she's only 20, 21.
She's putting on a voice in an intro fight because we cut from Abby to Ellie in a brawl, and we're not really...
You think we're in the thick of it.
Yeah, we're like, oh, why is she getting attacked? But I actually really enjoyed the way they did that scene. They didn't completely address every problem that people were going to have with Ellie, but they tried to like soften the blows, I guess, because she's fighting a man and losing. And a big thing is, a big thing from the games from certain groups was, how can she take down all these people?
Jiu-jitsu.
Because she's scrappy, yeah. She's Marco rolling around all over the floor.
Yeah.
But then we find out that the guy she's fighting, it was pulling punches.
Yeah.
Like, he could have beaten her up. So, like, hopefully that people are like, okay, sure, she's scrappy. Like, then the show isn't directly saying this woman will beat the shit out of every man she comes across.
Critical
so the drinker will be happy.
I was going to say, critical drinker, take notes there, mate.
Take notes.
Like maybe he should, if only he was holding her down and saying, I was going easy.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Then it would have been perfect.
You do it subtly after, where he's like, there's a reason why we're not kicking the shit out of you.
And then you relate that to that it's like Joel's ever-presence, that nobody wants to hurt Joel's daughter.
I really enjoyed Joel's presence, as you said, because in the game... I don't really know what you are as Joel.
Yes. Joel is a tradesman. We kind of get that that thing from the first scene of the game where he's on about a deal and getting things together.
Yeah, which ties it to the first season really well, because he's a builder and he's Tommy's boss. Like, he was basically a foreman. Yeah. So putting him in a foreman role at the town, you're like, duh.
And I, you know, obviously Neil Druckmann's involved in this. The game had a lot of things it was trying to do. Maybe there's some ancillary note somewhere talking about Foreman Joel, but as far as I can tell, it wasn't made clear from my memory of the game. Yeah. I recently replayed it, well, most of it before I got bored, but I don't think it's in there. But I like that we're seeing Joel being more active and not just working on mahogany statues, which seems to be all what he was doing in the original game.
Because he's not the leader of the town in any official capacity, because he wouldn't allow that. Yes, he's not on the council. His brother is, which is good. Like, that makes sense. And then we've just got Joel being like, he's incredibly important because he's talented. And they're like, he's not going out on raids because he's busy. He's doing stuff. He's the foreman. And I'm like, this is great. Fantastic. Also, old man Tinkery Joel, like, because in the game, you're constantly like building stuff, like weapons. Joel's just good at attaching scissors to sticks. What can I say?
Yeah. And it's hard not to think about the game, but I thought part 2 was the antithesis of Naughty Dog bloat. Right. That began around Uncharted 3 and Last of Us, but then really got bad as soon as Bruce Straley left and Neil was fully in charge. Not that it's all Neil's fault or anything. We're here because Neil had the idea for Last of Us. It was his baby. But it's like sometimes you have a great idea and you hand it to a director and they can fine it down, like Joel with a mahogany statue. But Bruce Straley, I think, is sometimes the forgotten like contributor to The Last of
Well,
Us.
I didn't see his name written anywhere.
He wasn't involved with the project, even though there's plenty of quotes of Neil saying that and Bruce saying that they both were interchangeable. That so many story ideas that came from Bruce. One of them being, and we'll get to that as the season goes on, that Bruce told Neil back in part 1 that a revenge story in this world doesn't make sense, because why would somebody be motivated by revenge, then traveling the apocalypse where murder, rape, death happens all the time?
Especially when you can get there and they're probably already dead.
Yeah, so he said you can't make that reasonable. What I like, as someone who somewhat suffered through the game and all those fucking flashbacks of the Naughty Dog blow, is that we get a lot of those flashbacks put into the day before, which is even some scenes that have been kind of replaced and re-put in from the game now have a bit more sense to it. So you get Ellie having a moment with Tommy, and you get her having a few more moments with Joel, because in the first game the intention was that we don't get a moment with Joel. Spoilers, unless you have loads of flashbacks with him, in which his loses its impact, in my opinion.
Yeah. After Ellie's fight, we get Ellie and Tommy hanging out, and that again feels like they're maybe addressing why she's good at things. It's like they're showing training. They're showing that she isn't perfect. Like, she takes a shot, nails it, and they're like, wow, you're really good. But then she takes another shot, aiming for the head, misses, hits his foot. She's good, not great. It's like, it does feel like they're seeding these things. And it's also good because you want your hero that is 3.5 feet tall on their back fighting for their life half the time. And
I think the potential horror of that you're seeing, 19-year-olds are still very young people. So the fact that both of these people, even though the actress for Abby is my age, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wow.
She just looks young.
Yeah.
The fact that you're seeing young people doing these horrific things will add to the impact of maybe violence is bad.
What? Violence begets violence, almost.
You're thinking ahead of the curve here, mate. Violence is bad. Jeez.
The show does look fantastic, and I'm really happy with, like, the lighting. Everything looks great.
Right.
It's not as vibey as I'd probably have hoped. Like, it doesn't have its own identity so much as it just looks nice. We might get into that more later on with, like, a bit more grit and grunge, but it is a very standard, very nice looking show currently.
I guess, when you're comparing it to, like, another Max show, like The Penguin, that's all gritty and grimy
or Fallout,
and
like, was very apocalypse, whereas this is very... I think season 1 had a lot more of the overgrown stuff, and that's probably...
Well,
so we might end up getting that.
In the country where you wouldn't really feel the notice that.
Yeah, we might end up getting more of that, and there is a little bit of very game-feeling vibe when she's chasing the clicker through that hallway. Like, with, like, looking around the corner, like, there's stuff in the air. Like, that's The Last of Us to me. So I do hope we get that relatively soon. Yeah, the whole stalker sequence was fantastic.
Yeah. Because I wish Sarah was here, and she might be here for future episodes, don't worry. But she is a adamant hater of part 2. I was pretty like, I don't know about part 2. It kind of disappointed me. She was like, no, fuck this, I want to stop playing now. And she hated Dina. She thought Dina was just the stuff that we'll get into, that I'm hoping the show will kind of make a bit smoother, as they have done so far with certain plot points, is the relationship of Ellie and Dina. And I felt in the game, as we spoke on before, that they don't really emphasize that these people are 19. They feel like they're in their mid-20s. Sure. And with this, when they're in there and they're seeming a bit playful, when they enter into the zombie, because they go out on the thing, they seem pretty flippant towards the people in charge, and they go into the supermarket. I really liked it that they were almost playful about it, because for these kids, they've grown up in the apocalypse, so they've had to grow up fast, but they still have that young person like playfulness.
Yeah. Dina is definitely the smarter one of the two of them, and more friendly with Joel. Like, she doesn't see a problem with Joel.
That was a great addition.
It does make Ellie a bit less likable than she probably is when you're playing her, because you're forced to play her, whereas here, she does come across as very moody the whole time. She's a lot lighter with Dina, which is good. So I think Dina helps Ellie for sure. And then Joel is less depressed and everything, when you can see that he does have some childhood love.
I was really glad we didn't get, flashing forward, that we didn't get the fucking... If I should lose you, then I should surely lose myself.
I don't remember that at all.
That's like
is that the song
at
he's
the
playing?
start of the game, Joel has the whole, I stopped it when he's with his brother. That's the first scene. They ride into town. He goes to see Ellie. They've been in town for maybe a few weeks at this point, and he gets out the guitar like he does in this scene. But in this, he goes, "I'll fix the guitar." In that one, he full on sits down and plays a song.
And they force you to play it, or is that later?
No, we just watch it as a cutscene.
Yeah.
And it's just the lyrics are, "If I should lose you, I'll lose myself," which is the point
The
of the
whole
story.
game. Yeah,
It's
well, I'm glad they didn't do that then.
Hello.
So yeah, Dina is the smart one in their relationship, and she really helps Ellie become a bit more likable with that playful moment when they're going after the supermarket zombies, supermarket clickers. I think Ellie is interesting because she's immune, so she takes things nowhere near as seriously as she should. And it was good that immediately right off the bat they show her getting bitten and kind of getting screwed over because she was just mucking around. Like, she wasn't as dead set focused as you kind of need to be. And
I thought that whole sequence was great. In the
it looked
supermarket.
great. It felt great. I think they reestablished the powers of the clickers really well with the whole, they obviously can't see light because they're using light to communicate. They're being quiet, shout of the bottle. Ellie, again, scrappy, I guess, jumps on its back, but then does fuck up, is messing around too much, falls through the bottom. And we didn't get the stalkers in season 1, did we?
The stalkers only exist, I think, in Abby's levels. And they're introduced in the high rise when she's up there, and they're a lot more crusted.
Okay.
Like, they're more, I think. But
I love that they're kids.
But
it
in
makes
this,
it creepy as fuck.
and it gives it the element that maybe the human element is holding on, so that the disease is adapting. And one of the things that I really didn't like about part 2 is that the dangers of the infected felt background. It felt like I was watching a bad Western or something.
It only really mattered when there was a horde, and you were like, "Oh no, this is." But that's why you're playing the games.
But it
as
was
well.
all human stuff. Where in the game you felt like you were surviving the zombies and the people evenly, and it was about just trying to survive this fucked up world.
Yeah.
Where that just all became about killing people.
Yeah, especially when you lock everyone behind a nice protective town, you've got to up the threat, which is what they've done because we established that they're getting smarter. Maybe not all of them, who knows?
But some.
But they do kind of allude to the pipe mushrooms as being maybe like a spy, or like that's how I kind of took that. They're like they're putting their feelers out there and being like, food's here.
And I really like that was then connected with Abby. So it's like there's two equal dangers happening now. That you've got the infected stuff coming and Abby, and I just thought it was, and I hope they follow up. They surely will because they've emphasised it where the game never did, and already that makes me like this more because I really was disappointed in the zombie schmombies of part 2.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
One of the things I didn't like in Ellie's little storyline was when they do go back and tell the council about how they're so smart. It may be a bit too drucky, who knows, but they're basically talking to the council. I really like Tommy's wife, and she's like, "Oh, Dina's definitely lying. She didn't see shit." But Ellie is probably telling the truth. We should probably be worried. But a moment before that, Tommy says, you shouldn't have gone in there so recklessly. It's different when I do it. And then, you shouldn't have gone in there so recklessly. Why is it different? Yeah, you shouldn't have gone in there so recklessly.
I know this.
And then Ellie goes, why is it okay when you do it? And then he goes, it's different when I do it. And then his wife says, why is it different? And I'm just like, what do you think? 20 years difference experience. He was like an army veteran as well.
That's basically my niece in so many ways.
Yeah.
And also he knows what she doesn't. She's also the cure to humanity. So, which might be in the back of his head.
Yeah.
It might be there.
Yeah. So it was a tiny line. Could have easily been cut, but it's just very stupid that his wife is like, why is that different?
And it annoys me.
Experience, prowess, ability.
And it annoys me because people who profit off hating the show,
they can latch
will
on.
do a 30-minute video on that one line.
Yeah.
And it's just,
giving the haters ammunition.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it.
Yeah.
You can subtly do things and make them work for it.
Like we've just said with the showing that she's scrappy with the fighting, but also she's not this unkillable John Wick.
Yes, that's the thing. They're doing some of that so well. And then, they're suddenly like, here's a line, haters, eat it up. I'm like, no.
And also, I think another scene that is Joel sitting down for therapy. Some people just don't like it, but I thought it was really nice.
I didn't like this. I didn't like the idea of it because, especially with Daredevil, watching Fisk go through therapy, and Fisk isn't actually going through therapy. They don't use the therapy
angle.
They're just like, hey, by the way, he's in therapy. We're not going to show you. Whereas Joel sits down, and it's not Joel going to therapy to try to help himself. He wants to be validated.
Yes.
He literally wants her to go, no, you did the right thing.
Yeah.
But Catherine O'Hara is a badass and I love her. And she woke up and decided to get drunk the day before because it's her birthday. And Joel killed her husband, who is Eugene from the games.
The one who made all the weed that Ellie and Dina.
He's very background in the games, isn't he?
Yeah, and I can only assume he was killed because he was infected. And Joel just happened to be the one who shot him.
Yeah, and so probably infected but hasn't turned. So in her mind, he was still there. But Joel is the one to do it. You can't detach that. It's fair enough.
Maybe that was the last time Joel did any kind of ranging as an announcement last year. Maybe.
Had to kill someone in the town and he's like, I don't love this.
Yeah, maybe I'll just focus on my little scrappy parts.
Yes, I'll build instead of destroy. And it's like, that's nice. I really do think Joel will resonate with dads that have like a teenage daughter and he's like, God damn.
For sure.
But the therapy was done really well because, they actually go into it and there's a reason why he's there. Also, the therapist has nothing better to do. And like, you're in the horrors of the apocalypse. If you're a therapist, people probably would tell you their problems. So she might as well charge them for it.
And they're in the best situation possible for an apocalypse, whether they're out of a government.
Yeah, we don't know how many. It's been at least 5 years since they arrived, but we don't know whether everything was great then. But I believe Jackson was pretty well established.
I'm bringing in, I remember at the game where he goes, because they're getting power at the water tower.
Yes.
So they just get power. So the town is forming. And in the game, you see there's nurseries and there's talks of, as we've seen this, that because they only have movies from like the 90s,
Yes.
so they all know like these obscure like cowboy films that Joel likes.
Yes, it was something in the Viper, whatever it was.
Curtis and the Viper.
Yeah, which is from the first episode of season 1 as well, I think.
Yeah,
which it's a spy movie, basically. It's an action film.
Which I think's really cool. And I think Bella has really settled in. I really like that she still felt like Ellie. I think the complaint of part of the game was that she didn't feel like that foul-mouthed girl we all kind of loved from the game.
Yeah, and she didn't have any light moments in the game, really.
Yeah, where
it was either she was dead set in love with Dina or she was hating Joel. Yeah. And I'm like, bruh, pick
And in this, it was nice that it's like, well, she's very lucky because she's actually had the life of a teenager for 5 years. She's got a bedroom with the Matrix posters. She's got music. So she's kind of got to be a kid. So she would still be like a kid, except instead of going to schools, she kills zombies. Basically, like a walk for a girlfriend is killing zombies. But I really like that they recontextualized the line from the game where he goes, I think either I saved her or I stopped it, when he's cleaning the guitar with Tommy. And they've then put that into, obviously, Pedro, great actor, when he's like breaking down, but then very, very subtly, looks and goes, I saved her.
Yeah. I think he suits this Joel more than season 1 Joel.
I think both of them almost suit this version. Like, I think Bella suits the 20-year-old version of this character too. I think Joel in this has been explored. Like, there's that nice scene with his nephew where we're just seeing that we're getting more of a sense that this can do that the game can't do, of like, that this is Joel that maybe has, hung up his gun, you know, and he's just kind of relaxing, which then might explain why a certain episode. I reckon we'll still probably get the zoo flashback. We'll get a whole, I reckon. Look at your face at that.
I really
Holy
hope
shit.
we don't get flashbacks because we're doing it so cleanly so far. We get it. Yeah. We don't need to go back.
It's so neat, isn't it? That we didn't need a 2-hour or an hour flashback of snipering with Tommy. We got it in one scene.
Yep. We don't need... we don't need going to the zoo. We don't need the aquarium. Yes, the future is still terrifying. This is theirs to lose.
There's the bit where he goes and sits with her. I mean, I've touched on it already, where it looked like they were going to do their first interaction from part 2 when he goes to the garage. Yep. And he's trying, he wants to talk to her and she's still being cold, but it's not like I don't want to talk to you. It's just, we know there's something that's happened that, I'm sure an audience who don't know what it is can probably guess what's wrong with them.
But that's what I really enjoyed, because it is this lie between them, and they immediately, that's the first thing we see in this episode as well. It's him just outright lying.
Yes.
So you can't not carry that with you every day, because every time he looks at her, he sees that.
He sees the lie.
And even though he is glad he saved her, he's still thinking, oh, I had to kill a bunch of people and I've lied to you. So you can't not think that she knows. So every time he talks to her, there's got to be part of his brain that's thinking, she probably knows I lied.
Yeah.
If she catches me, she'll hate me. Like, there's all of that.
It's interesting because at the time when he made the game, when they did that, Druckmann said in a talk that he felt it was her genuinely believing him.
Yep.
But then when other people felt it was her accepting that he's lying, but accepting the lie and going, okay, and then kind of realised, which is why I wish they just left it well enough alone, a beautiful, ambiguous ending where we don't truly know what that okay means. That if it's believing him or just or knowing he's lying, but deciding to just go along with it anyway.
The way I like it is that he thinks she believes him, but might figure it out or might know a little bit.
Yeah.
And she does believe him, but there's always a bit in her brain that can't help it. Because that's also her destiny was to like, so like that was everything.
Sure. Yeah.
As in like that was everything for her for a while. And then she's like, what do I do now? I guess just live.
Yeah, I get you. True. I think, it's that lie is what begins to crumble in their relationship that 5 years later, even though we don't know the specifics of this Ellie and how she figures out, we know she's figured out some way that she knows,
or at least suspects,
suspects it at least. But
even if she doesn't, just the fact that he can't give everything to her, like he's always holding something back. I think that works for me.
And when he goes in and wants to talk to her, the way we see this Joel in the show so far is he just wants to fix things. So he can't fix the relationship, but he'll fix the guitar.
Yeah.
So, and that I thought was great. Very dad.
Also, he was killing for so long. So he's used to doing something.
Yes.
So now that he can't just like he's in a safe little town, and we're assuming he doesn't want to go murder more zombies. So he needs to be doing something. So it's like it works.
I did like how he was quoting his therapy to Dina, where he's like, "I never got this far with Sarah. She's never been like this with anyone. So we're both just in uncharted territory." I don't think he says uncharted. It would have been a fun little wink.
That would have been good. Good way to introduce it, especially, and to get Dina on side. But then we get to the finale that will be
the shot for shot remake, more or less.
They pretty much just remade. Did you ever see the PS5, the Last of Us 2 reveal at E3?
When they had
they made it. They just remade that set again. So that's very funny that some guy's now been hired twice to make this.
Probably my least favourite, and you could tell it's a direct lift because the dialogue's worse. Sorry, but like it's been good so far, and then we get this fucking self-important. I think they should be terrified. It's like, what the fuck does that mean?
The ending is really bad. I loved a lot of it up to that point. I think they actually handled it quite well, and it was because of the performances and a couple of lines like you've got Dina, who really wants to party, and she's high and drunk.
And it's been now contextualized as a New Year's, which I don't think it was in the game.
Oh, it was just like
just
yeehaw. It was just a yeehaw get together.
I think so.
We make what's her boyfriend's name?
Fuck.
They improve upon Dina and her ex-boyfriend's relationship because he's not a giant douchebag, or at least he's not viewed by them as a giant douchebag.
Yeah.
Like Ellie is quite civil with him. They're like, "Don't worry, you'll get back together." I liked all that. And then when we get to the scene of them actually dancing, it, to me, could be wrong. Some people will love it, some people hate it. But for me, it felt very much like there were two people kind of doing different things up until that end bit. But Dina was high drunk and with her best friend. So she's like, let's dance, let's hang out. All the while, like the whole smell me thing, like that's something friends would do. But then because Ellie is absolutely like infatuated with her, suddenly a sweaty hot girl rubbing herself on her, she's like, oh God. And then you can tell when they hug. I think it's really good portrayals that you kind of still can't capture in games.
Exactly.
Like we're good at mocap, but Bella's subtle, like not giving anything away, but you can tell that she's enjoying herself way too much, but also freaking out that Dina might know. And I loved all that up until I didn't even mind the little first kiss because it was one friend drunk and high. And like maybe that could lead to her getting feelings later on.
And I'm so glad we got this now because the game opens the night after the party. So it's this whole, or like the whole Joel punched that guy. I didn't punch him, he pushed him. So the game, so then we get that night progressively through flashbacks.
God, they've done this so much cleaner.
They have.
I love this so much better.
Because going back to that, there are times in the first game, in the first season, as someone who loved the game, where the dialogue maybe fell off pitch because I just could only imagine Troy Baker and, this is so accidental sexist that I can remember the actor's name.
That's fine. No, Troy Baker's just been everything.
Where I can remember the original actors delivering those lines, where in this, I know what it sounded like when she goes like rotten garbage when she smells her. And I felt Bella portraying Ellie as this like stoic, sarcastic someone raised by Joel that like... I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
And as I said, I feel like Bella's really settled into this character. a lot more at this age than she did as like a smart mouth 14-year-old. And
too bad they ruined it for me with Dina's next line, which is that whole interaction of they should be terrified of you. Everyone's looking at you. I think it's just a gross line more than anything.
Do you know, when you mentioned the reveal of the game, that dancing sequence was part of the first reveal demo gameplay.
Oh.
So it begins
because
on
graphics
her.
is cool.
Begins on her, they dance, she kisses Dina, we then go behind her head, and then we're flashing to her stabbing someone, and we flashed forward. We then have a whole action gameplay sequence.
Is this in the final game, sorry?
No, this is in the revealed.
Why
No,
you tell me that, sir?
because I think the line was only made for the demo, and then it stayed in the game, because then after we have this whole violent sequence,
You think
we flash back, and she goes, "Oh, Ellie, I think they should be terrified. Last of Us Part 2.
This is why they should be terrified.
Yeah, where
so it's a trailer moment.
It's
and
a trailer
made its
moment
way.
line that's
Okay.
made its way, because it feels almost antithesis to the time we've just had. I know, obviously, she's a bit, but there's nothing terrifying about Ellie yet, which is what
Or ever.
which is what I like.
Yes.
I like that she's
This isn't. You should always be the underdog. Like,
agreed,
especially when you're this tall.
But then we get. I noted it down, going, "Don't think we have Bigot Sandwich moment. I think this is really good."
I think we're safe from Bigot Sandwich.
But the reason why the sequence exists is, you might go, isn't this a little bit stupid that someone would be homophobic in the apocalypse? Even though I'm sure there would still be people who are homophobic in the apocalypse.
Maybe, but it's just so...
But the point is that it's meant to be about Joel and Ellie's relationship. That Joel has came to her rescue, as he always did.
They wanted that moment, and they needed Joel
And it was an aggressive push. They did a good job of like capturing that. Where in the game, it feels a little bit more just like a push. In this, it was like a full-on push down.
Yeah, they needed a reason for Joel to lash out, and especially for the finale, you need something big. But it still didn't work for me. Again, it's giving ammunition. I was enjoying when he was just like, guys, it's a church. Like, can you not make out in here? Like,
I think that line was an additional. I don't think that's in the game.
Oh, I think that was enough. I think that's all you needed. And then as they walk away, he's like, fucking
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't need the bit, because that's why I get pushed. You could have like drunk Dina like lash out and be like, we can kiss if we want to, yada yada.
And the escalation.
Yeah, make it so that he was just kind of saying, sure, he's traditional, that's fine, but he's not so much being like, I hate gays. He's just like, don't make out in a church, and then we can allude to stuff from there.
Because it was gonna be, because he says the what's the word, the slur. I understand what you're saying, that maybe if he had said it's a church, then they start escalating it, then Joel comes in and puts the exclamation mark on it, then it's like, Joel, really? Like, you're going to come in and just Joel it and save the day?
He tried to fix it, and you're like, you didn't need
it still is that, but it was like, I think it works here still, because Ellie was going over there to confront him, but then Joel had to step in.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with Joel like seeing that something might be happening from afar, and then he runs in. Just the whole him calling them mean words. It just felt like we didn't need it. It wasn't as bad as Bigot Sandwiches. I'm so glad we didn't get Bigot Sandwiches.
We'll get it next episode.
We better not goddamn get Bigot Sandwiches. That is the dumbest. Especially because the relationship with that guy now is like pretty good. Like, Ellie seems to like the boyfriend that is the one that he says Bigot Sandwich. Isn't that the Bigot Sandwiches guy? That's my only real problems with it. It was like, I guess I kind of wanted more from the episode than a status reset. Like, this might have been a good episode to air on Amazon Prime, where they're like, hey, here's
it's the first
2 episodes, here's 3.
I did expect 2 episodes, but I'm interested how we're going to have Abby now enter into this story, because I think we've done such a nicer job that the game did in re-establishing our main characters. And given that we've been told now very early on that Abby is coming and it isn't a bearing of the lead situation, I'm interested how that's going to change our perception of her. Overall, though, as we both agree that part 2 is probably a story that will be better explored in the TV format, whereas the original game, which was a lot more simpler, had to have additions, which maybe some of those, because it had the whole, as much as we liked the Billstown episode, it was just a bottle episode, where with this, I think we've got plenty of stuff. And I'd almost say treat the game like a first draft, and now we can kind of, lean it up, smooth out those edges. What's his name? Craig Mazin, yeah. Craig Mazin knows what he's doing.
Yes.
And I think
him.
having a story go through another person who's adapting it can, so far, has chiseled it off and made it a lot smoother.
Yeah, it was a really strong opener. I do wish we had a bit more of a bang at the end. Like, the game, for obvious reasons, has more of a pull, like more of a grab in that opening act.
I think that'll be in the next episode.
Yeah, so I'm hoping they move things relatively quickly because we do have a lot to get to. We know that this game is being 2 seasons. Really strong opener. Do wish it had more of a grab, but I'm at least very keen for the future, and I like the way it seems we're leaning. Like, the changes we've already made, I hope keep trickling out and start just like putting all the pieces in place. So what did you guys think? Are you terrified they're going to make it like the game? Do you enjoy eating bigot sandwiches? I prefer please subscribe sandwiches. Bye. Thank you, Sarah, for editing.